In a million years, I would not take the flu shot, and I'll tell you why.
Gee, since Kennedy is Secretary of Health, I sure hope his next statement does not demonstrate a wildly bad understanding of immunology.
Because the flu shot gives you something called pathogenic priming. It injures your immune system.
That sounds scary, but Kennedy doesn't understand pathogenic priming. In the scientific literature, this is actually called antibody-dependent enhancement, not pathogenic priming. Antibody-dependent enhancement can happen if your body has a poor antibody response against a pathogen. For example, you make antibodies and they can attach to the virus, but they don't fully neutralize it. They just kind of bind onto its surface. Then, the next time you get infected with that same virus, those antibodies can actually help the virus get into your cells. And if that happens, you could have worse outcomes for that specific pathogen. Of course, that is the opposite of what flu vaccine data actually show. For example, a 2018 study showed that the flu shot reduces risk of ICU admission with the flu by 82%, and another study showed 31% lower risk of death from flu. Kennedy didn't want to be wrong in just one way, so he went on to say that because of this immune damage, getting a flu shot increases your risk for infection with other respiratory pathogens.
It injures your immune system so that you're more likely to get a non-flu viral upper respiratory infection.
No, of course, that's also incorrect. He goes on to cite a research paper from the Pentagon. From that paper, he picks out a single data point that appears to support the idea that flu shots damage your immune system and increase the risk for other respiratory viruses. However, in his typical style, he fails to mention that all the rest of the paper's main conclusions directly contradict his story. In fact, they found no increased odds of other respiratory illnesses overall, but they did find protection against influenza. The author of that exact study wrote a follow-up letter to the academic journal. This was in the wake of this disinformation spreading online, and it said, results from this study do not support the anti-vaccination viewpoint of avoiding seasonal influenza vaccination.
In a million years, I would not take the flu shot.
And in fact, should be interpreted in the opposite manner. A slight decrease in the odds of infection from other respiratory viruses was also noted. On Kennedy's misinformation tier list, flu shot damages your immune system was going to be B tier misinformation. But interpreting a paper so poorly and so damagingly that the actual study author publishes a follow-up letter to say that you're wrong, that bumps this up to S tier. You don't see that every day. Hit the follow and I'll see you next time.